Hello and welcome to the Tokyo Aquatic Center in the Japanese capital. This is day 5 of the swimming competition, and it is once again one to really look forward to. There's so many different events that we eagerly anticipate as the officials begin to make their way out to the pool deck, and will be positioned on either end of this long course pool. 50 meters of absolutely brilliant looking water and pool glory in the pool to be had for so many, but an opportunity to confirm their place in the finals, as this is the session that will see all the heats swum. This is on the schedule today, including the men's 400-meter freestyle S7, getting straight into it, but some breaststroke heats for you to enjoy, and then a few sprints in the back and the freestyle before we get into breaststroke events before the final heat of the day. That's coming in the men's 200 free S2, where the likes of Alberto Barça, Jacek and Gabriel dos Santos Araujo go against one another. It should be entertainment in abundance. We will, however, begin the morning with the men's 400-meter freestyle S7, but looking at the events today, surely a couple on there that stand out for you.
I'd say first this 400 freestyle, we're going to see Malyar, who fairly recently broke the world record. Maybe he'll do it again, probably finals, not preliminaries, but he should still have a solid swim. The men's 100-meter breaststroke with the SB14 classification, you have Scott Quinn, who's nothing short of entertaining, and then world record holder Yamaguchi. Another good one will be the men's 50-meter freestyle in S9. We're going to see Simone Barlam, world record holder, go up against Will Martin, who we already saw win the 400 freestyle in a blazing time. So I'd like to see those two go up against each other.
Confirming Mark Malyar, the world record holder, and that remains his seed time. He hasn't swum that time in a while. The fastest time in the world this year is actually from Evan Austin, who'll be going in the first heat of 2. The man who's back at the Paralympic Games. Evan Austin will go in lane 5. Andrei Trusov will go in lane 4. While To Wei Sung of Singapore and Andrei Gladkov will go as well in the heat. There are 9 competitors across the 2 heats, which means heats do need to be swum. Bear in mind, only the 8 fastest swimmers in the heat session advance to the final session, always on the same day. There is one exception to that, and that was an ordered reswim that we will have in the final session on day 5. Team Canada have enjoyed some success as Aurélie Rivard picked up the first gold medal for Canada at these Paralympic Games of Tokyo 2020 in the pool on day 4 of competition. Is there more success that awaits Canada here? They've got a few swimmers in action. Well, for Team Israel, Mark Malyar in the pool first up. I'll be looking forward to seeing him go against the likes of Austin Trusov and indeed Inaki Basilov, the Argentine, also going in the same event. Let's meet the 4 swimmers for the men's 400-meter freestyle S7 heat. Toho of Singapore making his way out first. Evan Austin, Andrei Trusov and Andrei Gladkov representing RPC, who will be going in lane 3. This is an event that is genuinely a distance event for swimmers in the lower classifications. But to swim twice in a day and to post good times twice in a day in an event like this will be punishing. So how do the swimmers manage this?
So for the 400 freestyle, I mean, it's 8 lengths of the pool. What you want to do in prelims is you want to keep it controlled. Probably not going to see swimmers go an all-out best time or anything, but you want to keep it pretty evenly split, especially, you know, in a class like this where it's not, you know, you don't need to really have, I'd say, like an all-out swim to get to the finals. You just have to get your hand in the top 8. So, you know, and then for finals, you want to be well positioned so that you can see everyone to your left and to the right.
So Evan Austin, the reigning world champion in the 50 fly, fastest time in the world this year in the 400 free, however. Up against Andrei Trusov. 21-year-old from Ukraine who picked up a silver medal in the 200 IM. So already a morale-boosting podium place for the Ukrainian who goes in lane 3. Gladkov, Trusov, Austin and Toe. Getting away very nicely, Evan Austin, off the starter's blocks, but Trusov has got a very clean stroke. It's about managing, I suppose, the stroke in the water and, as you say, navigating the 8 lengths, but very deliberate and not at all choppy from either of the swimmers going in the middle lane. Toe of Singapore going out a little harder in lane 6.
Yeah, but right in the middle of the pool, you've got Evan Austin and Andrei Trusov, both of whom, you know, I don't think they're going to be able to catch Malyar. Malyar is just, he's so dominant in this event. But the both of them, they could be in a position to challenge for silver and bronze. Right now, you see, they want to keep it very even, very controlled. You know, neither one of them, they're not probably going to really turn on the sprint at the very end. What they want to just do is just post a time that's good enough to put them in the center of the pool for finals. And now you see Evan Austin start to take the lead. He trains at the U.S. Olympic Training Center out in Colorado Springs. He works out multiple times a day. This event, you know, it really should be no problem for him to get himself into finals.
It's been interesting to see what he's been doing in between swimming, where he actually took up an assistant coaching role at Purdue University, Evan Austin, so trying to give back. But now it's his chance in the pool once again as he turns second behind Toe. But he, Trusov and Toe, there's half a second separating those three of the wall. Andrei Gladkov is just a little off the pace currently.
Yeah, right now they're all kind of clustered together in the middle of the pool. They look pretty strong going in. It does look like they're going to keep it fairly evenly split. I don't think you're going to see any sort of, you know, sprinting at the end like we were talking about, but they are, you know, they look very balanced right now.
At the turn of the 150-meter mark, Evan Austin and Toe touch at the same time. Trusov is inside 0.2 of a second on the turn, but he's got some really good turns, is Trusov. Austin perhaps a little stronger in the stroke, but both have a little more there. But yes, when it comes to the overall favorite, Mark Malyar, who will go in Heat 2, certainly is the individual that anyone else is going, or everybody else is going to try to catch. There are only 9 entrants in this classification for this men's 400 freestyle S7. It means 2 heats, 1 of 4, 1 of 5. Only one will fail to make the final.
And here you have Toe starting to fade and Evan Austin and Trusov starting to pull away. You know, in years past when they've all swam together, it's really Trusov that's been the only one that posed any sort of threat to Malyar right now. But Evan Austin, you know, he's hanging in there. He's right at the top of the pack right now. Toe, he was starting to fade, but now he looks like he's coming back up. He does go faster into the walls, which is a good strategy here.
And so is finding a little momentum off the walls, but again, effectively half a second separating the 3. If they all leave Gladkov behind, they're comfortably through to the final without necessarily securing a prime lane, but they will be happy to advance to the finals. But yeah, you do want to be swimming closer to the middle than out on the wide lanes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing that's always sort of interesting in preliminaries, especially with an event like the 400, the 800, or the 1500, is that you want to post a decent, a respectable time. You want to get yourself well positioned, but at the same time, all 3 guys are very competitive. So even though they don't look like they're going all out or anything, at the same time, Austin doesn't want Trusov to win, Trusov doesn't want Toe to win, Toe doesn't want Austin to win. Yeah. So you will see them sort of play this game of, you know, cat and mouse.
Without expending as much energy as they will in the final, undoubtedly, but Evan Austin is leading the way at the moment ahead of Andrei Trusov, and Toe Wei Sung of Singapore is just off the pace now. So this is where the swimmers will make their move in the preliminaries, and indeed heading into the 350 mark. It's Austin who touches first ahead of Trusov. A little bit of a gap opening now on Toe, who's 3 seconds behind. Evan Austin turns 29 the week after the games ends. He had his third Paralympic Games here. Man from Indiana who's now based in Colorado. Look at the way Trusov is coming back.
They've been going back and forth this whole time. And here comes Evan Austin now. You see the stroke rate start to pick up. It's like they don't want to go all out, but at the same time, they don't want the other one to win. 4:57.
0.12 separating the top two as they dip below 5 minutes. Evan Austin touches second behind Andrei Trusov. To Wei-sung third, and indeed Andrei Gladkov will be coming home now as he touches in 5 minutes 16:36. So all he needs is one swimmer to go outside that, and he'll be through to the final. But Andrei Trusov and Evan Austin, after a little bit of a game of cat and mouse, it's Trusov who's touched first, and the top three have secured their progress to the final.
Here they are coming in. Both Austin and Trusov have the lower leg impairment, so they don't get a ton off the block. They don't really get much off the wall here. But they do have these long and deliberate strokes, which is perfect for the 400. There's Austin right ahead of Trusov. But then you see Trusov towards the end of the race. He starts to stroke faster. He starts to turn it on a little bit more. And then he comes in and he really increased his pace towards the end. You saw Toe hanging in there in the beginning of the race. But as they dove for the wall, Trusov was like, I think I'm going to win this preliminary swim. I'll see you at finals tonight.
And he did by 0.12 of a second. Andrei Trusov is victorious in the first heat of two in the men's 400 free S7. Evan Austin second, and Wei-sung To third, 5:03.82. He's into the final. The second heat of the men's 400 freestyle S7 features the world record holder in Mark Malya, who on his way to the World Championship title in 2019 in London. Swam the world record as it stands, and that is his seed time for the event. Mark Malya, 4:33.64. So capable of going quicker than any other swimmer in the pool. But fastest time in the world this year does belong to Evan Austin, who's going to make it count in the second heat. Chang, Picelli, Malyar, Basilov, Gavilan. Well, he's wasting no time, is Mark Malya. Just get into the water, have a good start, and head a half a body length out in front. Now, Federico Picelli is going to see if he can keep pace with Malya for a bit, and you'd expect Inaki Basilov, for the most part, to be able to keep up with Malya for the first few hundred meters. And Picelli's almost turning this into a bit of a sprint to the first 50.
Yeah, he is. He's going out hard, and he's trying to challenge Mark Malya. Yeah, I do love the way, though, that Mark Malya is able to swim this 400. He keeps it very even, and he keeps it very controlled. I don't think he's going to want to go for his world record time and expend too much energy in this preliminaries, but I also don't think he wants Picelli to beat him in this morning's swim. That would be a bit of a setback for him. He wants to go into the final swim as confident as possible, but Picelli looks like he's not going to make this that easy for him.
I'll wait for Basilov as well to see how he swims. He's clearly got a plan in place. He's swimming very much within himself. And it's Basilov going in third, but Picelli is a little bit of a hard swim going out for the Italian. You really don't want to exhaust yourself and wear yourself out in the opening legs and suddenly find yourself struggling to come home.
No, and Malyar is going right past Picelli right now, and you see now just the strength of Malyar. He's so deliberate, he's so even. It's like he said to Picelli, okay, you can have your first 100, but this race is really mine.
Just a calm message from the man who's already a gold medalist here, having won the men's 200-meter individual medley SM7, Mark Malya of Israel. He beat out Andrei Trusov, who was victorious in the first heat. In the 200 IM, Mark Malya will be looking to make that 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Picelli, the way he's swimming right now, I do think he's going to start to fade. You already see him dropping off the pace a little bit, though he could be a very strong contender against Austin and Trusov from that first heat. for the silver or bronze position. And here's Malyar just cruising into this turn, 2:16.18, solid split. He's off of his world record, but that's not really a surprise for the preliminary swim.
Turn and go, and Bocelli is still putting in a little effort here, but Mark Malyar is just comfortably stretching away. It was so good to see Mark Malyar pointing up to the stands. His brother Ariel, also a para swimmer, and at these games, an opportunity to look up into the stands and celebrate with his brother as he turned after securing gold in the 200 IM. And I think at a games like Tokyo 2020, having family around could be so critically important to a healthy mindset and a positive view.
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of the things that athletes love about these games is, you know, when you walk out and behind the blocks, you can always see your family. I always used to see my dad in the stands. It's a very comforting feeling. And not having that, you know, I do think it's probably affected the athletes in some way. Fortunately, now there's FaceTime, so you can finish the race and immediately call home. But for Malyar, it's great to have his brother in the stands.
One of the few who has a family member around, or at least a loved one as well. But for some, it's been a little bit of a lonely trip outside of their one or two compatriots, and certainly for some of the smaller nations, including Aymar of Dominican Republic, the only swimmer here, but a first swimmer for Dominican Republic, making history. But for Malyar, a little bit of history already on his side, and a chance to make it 2 golds in 2 events from Mark Malyar. Turns nicely off the wall at the 350. And Bocelli, he's still got a little energy there, but he doesn't have quite enough to catch Malyar. Just watch out for Basilov's finish. Maybe he's got something to say to Bocelli. But these 3 will be comfortably into the final.
Yeah, and Bocelli, I mean, to his credit, he's really hanging in there with Malyar. Malyar at this point has just totally shut it down. He's on cruise control. He knows he's going to dominate tonight, and here he is. He turned it on a little bit at the end just to come in for the finish. But he should have no problem taking this race tonight if he just swims his own race, and already a Paralympic record. So the world record holder takes out Joseph Craig's Paralympic record. Mark Malyar to the wall in 4:41.82. Inaki Basilov touches 3rd fastest, just outside the time of Federico Bocelli, but comfortably through to the final. Ernie Gavilan of Philippines also into the final after his swim in lane 6. And coming home now from Chinese Taipei, Cheng Liangda. Would have been wanting to better his personal best of 5:10, but for the Chinese Taipei swimmer, 5:15.89. So Malyar, a little message, not going out hard, still have the Paralympic record, and that's always going to play in your mind as a fellow competitor. Yeah, but silver and bronze, those are up for grabs. I'd say there's going to be a race between Austin, Trusov, and Bocelli tonight. That one is going to be one to watch. And then obviously the question is whether Malyar is going to take down his own world record. That should be good.
So Paralympic record in the 400-meter freestyle S7. As Mark Malyar enters the pool.
Comes right in. He did get some assistance off the block, and the reason for that is that, well, maybe not Malyar, but some of the folks in this classification do, and some of them, they have lower leg impairments and sometimes muscle weakness, and so they require assistance to help them balance on the blocks. And here's Malyar. Look at this stroke, very deliberate. As he comes into the wall, you know, at this point, he'd already established himself. He had clean water to the left and the right. He comes up pretty quickly. He's not able to use his turns as much given his impairment. And then he just commands himself into the wall. Very good swim on his end.
Just turn around, have a look. Yeah, that'll do. Paralympic record. Maybe the world record coming in the final. Mark Malyar of Israel, the favorite by some way. Victorious in the second heat as he sees off Bocelli and Basilov. Ernie Gavilan of Philippines qualifying for the final here as Cheng Liangda and To Wei Sung find themselves into the final as well. But Trusov, Austin, among those challenging for silver and bronze. This is the start list for the men's 100 breaststroke, SB14. 2 heats. Kulabin, Evers, Michel, Bandera, Morrison and Johnson. Now, Bandera's freestyle is imperious, but in the kind of form he's been displaying, would you bet against Banderas?
You know, in this one, I'm probably going to go with Jake Michel. He's been on fire from Australia. I wouldn't count out Bandera because we know he has serious closing speed. But right now, it's all about Jake Michel in the middle of the pool from Australia. Look at this breaststroke. Look at his height. Look at the power of his kick. I can't stop saying enough good things about him right now.
Quality swimmer undoubtedly is Jake Michel. Kulabin, Evers is also a quality swimmer from Netherlands, going without the swim cap. Shaved head is his preferred choice. World record pace, not quite on it, but it is a very quick pace for the preliminaries. So putting in some good effort here in the opening heat of 2. Michel is going to glide to the wall very comfortably in front. Paralympic record time for Michel. Evers touches 3rd. Morrison of Great Britain, Conor Morrison, touching 2nd fastest. So into Paralympic record territory. Now Scott Quinn will watch his Paralympic record go.
And here they are off the block. Already Jake Michel so dominant with that underwater pullout. Bandera, you know, we talked about what a threat he was in that freestyle, but this one was all about Jake Michel. Here he is getting supreme height in every single stroke as he just dives for that first turn. And then he finishes very strong in that breaststroke.
So Jake Michel of Australia, 105.30. Paralympic record. He knows his main challenge for a gold medal will go in heat 2. Second heat of 2. Now, this is where Yamaguchi Naohide comes into his own. This is his main event. Scott Quinn as well. You've got to be looking at those two, and maybe a challenge from Jean-Pedro Brutus de Oliveira going in 3, but there is Yamaguchi Naohide, the world record holder from Yokohama just 3 months ago. He set a new world record. Scott Quinn was the Paralympic record holder until heat 1. So Palazzo, Parmentier, Brutus de Oliveira, Yamaguchi, Quinn, Kreinik and Bennett. Nicholas Bennett of Canada going in 7. But Scott Quinn, the effervescent personality of Scott Quinn should come to the fore. But in the pool, also very dangerous swimmer. But at the moment, it is Yamaguchi and Kreinik of Ukraine who are looking to take this out hardest.
Yeah, I mean, Yamaguchi right now, he's leading the pack. He looks very clean, but Scott Quinn is not going to make this easy for him. You know, we talked about what a character he is, but he's also a phenomenal swimmer, and he knows how to close. So I think he's going to try and close a bit during this finals, but right now, the most important thing for all of these swimmers is to get themselves a place in the final 8.
Well, at the moment, leading the way very comfortably is the Japanese favorite. He's just about on world record pace here, just a little behind as he edges towards the wall, but 3 in a row effectively behind him as Scott Quinn now starts to pick up the pace. Yamaguchi will touch first and take the Paralympic record, and Scott Quinn touches second behind him as expected. Nicholas Bennett in third, a 106.73 as he out-touches Vasil Kreinik after a very strong final few meters. But Yamaguchi looked very confident in the pool here.
He did. He looked phenomenal as he comes out of the start. He had a great underwater pull-out and already established himself well ahead of the rest of the field. You know, you have to wonder, did he see Jake Michel? Most likely he did. He saw him set that Paralympic record during the first heat of a 1:05:30, and that time was probably in his head as he swam this. And then he went out hard, came back 1:04:45, re-broke the Paralympic record. So, you know, Yamaguchi saying to everyone, this is my event. I'll see you tonight.
So Yamaguchi Naohide, the Japanese swimmer who will be looking for further success in the pool, although in his first two events he's failed to medal. This is his favorite event. The man from Imabari is on top after the heat. It's a Paralympic record as well to boot to 1:04:45. Scott Quinn qualifying second fastest. Scott Quinn second, Nicholas Bennett third, and just outside is Kai Nickel comfortably advanced to the final. There's confirmation. Mark Evers only just sneaking in, the bronze medalist from Rio. But Mark the Shark Evers, will make the final. But Yamaguchi looks good. They did
both heats, very fast preliminary swims, which is, you know, what you would expect in that classification.
Now to the heats for the women's 100-meter breaststroke, SB14. Michelle Alonso of Spain is the world record holder. She will go in the second heat. Louise Fiddes rather. I'm thinking of Bethany Firth and Louise Fiddes together. Yeah, they're both gold medalists from relay, however. Well, Jessica Jane Applegate having swum with Bethany Firth in the final of the 4x100 free. This is the women's 100-meter breaststroke. Marina Falk van der Rijswijk, Fiddes, Borges, Serizawa and Marchi. Now, Angela Marina got off nicely. She's looking to have a fast time. Louise Fiddes going in the center lane, lane 4 in the red swim cap, just edging ahead of the Australian on her outside in Ashley van Rijswijk and Brazil's Deborah Borges Carneiro. But nobody exactly pulling away in this, and much might depend on the turn.
Well, Louise Fiddes, she doesn't typically go out as fast as someone like Michelle Alonso Morales, but Louise Fiddes has excellent closing speed. So she's out well the first 50, 36.2, but it's the second 50 where I'm going to expect her to pull away. Now, it is just a preliminary swim, so she doesn't want to expend everything, but she does need to make her move in the second 50 right now. But the other swimmers are hanging with her very strong.
The European champion, the world champion is Louise Fiddes. She'll have some confidence coming into this race, but at the moment, Australia's van Rijswijk and Brazil's Borges Carneiro are not allowing her to get away, and Serizawa of Japan is finishing strong as well. So Fiddes looks like she will fade and might only just be in the top 2. Outside of the top 2, in fact, it's van Rijswijk, Borges Carneiro and Fiddes touch in that order, with Serizawa touching 4th, not far behind at all. 0.2 of a second separating the top 2. But it's Australia ahead of Brazil and then Great Britain in that order.
Wow, I mean, that was a surprising first heat. I would have expected Louise Fiddes to take it in the second 50, but she didn't. She went out relatively well that first 50, but then here you see her coming into the wall. This is expected for her, but it's the second 50 where Australia and Brazil really made their mark. Louise Fiddes at the end, instead of finishing strong, she actually started to fade into the background, and she was only 3rd. That's probably a bit of a disappointing swim for her this morning.
And you just wonder if she hasn't quite looked at her best. She finished outside the medals in the 200 free, outside the medals again in the 100 fly. From Rijswijk of Australia. That's a good swim. She got off to a terrible start, truth be told. She was one of the slowest reactions off the starter's blocks. But in the pool, she played her part. 1:18.43 as she wins it ahead of Borges Carneiro and Louise Fiddes 3rd. Serizawa of Japan should be through to the final with the 119, and she'll have to wait for the second heat. Second heat of 2 features the world champion, the world record holder, the gold medalist from 2016, Michelle Alonso. She'll go in lane 4. Marsh also swam in the 200 free. She qualified for the final. She did not, however, manage to medal. Paige Leonhardt is behind her there, the Australian. Maybe a challenge to come from Paige Leonhardt, who's been dropping her times well over the past couple of years. And down to a 114. Chan, Indriani, Borges, Carneiro. Alonso going in 4. Leonhardt, Shabalina, Lindberg, and Poteshkina.
And already Michelle Alonso Morales, she's establishing herself in the front of the field. You know, Shabalina is swimming this heat, but this is definitely not one of her best events, although you never know with Shabalina. She's swimming so well. Paige Leonhardt right now hanging with the front 3, looking very good. You know, you had mentioned that she's been swimming well these past few years. I do think she's going to swim well again tonight. And Michelle Alonso Morales, one thing to note is that during the 2019 World Championships, she was recently beat by Luis Fides, so you know that beat is that second place finish is fresh on her mind, and she's going to want to take it back and just reestablish herself as the dominant breaststroker in this classification.
I also want to see the battle between the twin sisters, Beatriz and Deborah Borges Carneiro. It should be interesting to see who pips the other. At the moment, it is the Brazilian lying 3rd overall. But the winner here is undoubted. Alonso is going to power to the wall, comfortably in front, outside of her best, but a 113 very fast. It should be the Australian Leonhardt who touches second, and Borges Carneiro. So both of the twin sisters should be through. Alonso just dominant in this classification in this event. This is her event.
And Michelle Alonso Morales already just dominant coming off the blocks, and she uses this underwater pullout. She does a slight fly kick underneath as she pops up to the surface right here and goes right into that stroke. She is typically a very fast front end swimmer, and she did that again here. Here's that slight fly kick. She goes right into the underwater pullout, and then she pops up. She's not, every once in a while she tends to fade in that back half, but here she just kept it going. She was actually fairly close to her world record, so you have to wonder what exactly she's cooking up for tonight's final.
So somebody who's looking to defend her title yet again is the Spaniard Michelle Alonso. So Alonso finishes top of the second heat ahead of Paige Leonhardt and Beatriz Borges Carneiro of Brazil. Pernilla Lindberg, a good swim in the end with a 121. She and Shabalina both posting 121s. But I'm not sure that's going to be quick enough to advance to the final. With a 119 in 4th in the previous heat. Advancing to the final, Michelle Alonso on top of 113.35, showing her dominance ahead of 2 Australians and 2 Brazilians, Leonhardt and the twin sisters, Beatriz and Deborah of Brazil, qualifying 3rd and 5th fastest. Van Rijswijk of Australia in between. Luis Fides, the world champion and the European champion, 6th fastest, the home favourite, Serizawa. Lindberg sneaks in with a 121.37.
This should be an interesting race for tonight, especially with Luis Fides. She's capable of going so much faster, so hopefully she's able to pull that out.
This is the heats for the men's 50-meter freestyle S9. And this is the first event at Tokyo 2020, in which we see 4 heats needing to be swum. That's how competitive the class is. So to heat 1 we go. And great to see Dex Roy Crease of St. Vincent and the Grenadines swimming in his only event here. Rodrigo Hermosa of Paraguay, just 18 years old, goes in the middle. Great Matt Cowdrey with the Paralympic record. Simone Barlam with the world record. Well, a man who's swimming his only event here from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's the flag. Dexroy Crees, father of two, who's made his way. Antoine Boyce-Vaughan as well of Barbados. He's the only competitor from Barbados here. Man from St. James. The limb deficiency that was acquired. His mother encouraged him as part of his rehabilitation to get into the pool, and now here he is, a Paralympian. Says he was playing video games with his friends not too long ago, and here he is as a Paralympian. Dexroy Crees, Rodrigo Hermosa, and Antoine Boyce-Vaughan. So getting away in the first heat of 4 for the men's 50-meter freestyle S9. Antoine Boyce-Vaughan trying to post a new personal best, and for Dexroy Crees as well, the 36-year-old father of 2 from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's very much about posting personal bests and trying to set new marks as personal and individual milestones. For Hermosa, a sub-30-second swimmer, he's going to touch in 29.72, around about on point for his time. He touches first in the first of 4 heats. Boyce-Vaughan, second 37.82 and a 41.44 for Dexroy Crees. And quite way down on their respective entry times and seed times for both Antoine Boyce-Vaughan and Dexroy Crees, but Hermosa victorious in the first heat. Man from Paraguay.
Hermosa, he really springs off the block there, which is so critical in a 50 because you only have one length, and he maximizes the most of that left arm. Look how deep he gets on every single stroke. He has a very high turnover, and he did well. I mean, he went 29.72. He knocked off about 3/10 of a second from his seat time, which, you know, in a 50 is huge. So great swim on his end.
So Hermosa plays his part. Personal bests for Dexroy Crees and Antoine Boyce-Vaughan in the Dexroy Crees, a man who only took up paraswimming at the age of 34, 36, a Paralympian and a PB. There is an Italian named Simone who goes in Heat 2, but it's not Simone Barlam, the world record holder. Instead, it is Simone Ciulli. Oscar Salguero goes, but Jamal Hill going in lane 4 for the United States. Now, he's a 25-second swimmer over this distance, and he needs to get a good start, though. This is the thing, is you need to get a good start when it comes to the sprint races. Has he got enough in the stroke to edge out the competitors either side of him? Solberg in particular is quick in the stroke. Ciulli is just fading ever so slightly, and it does look to be a battle between Jamal Hill and Frederick Solberg, who are coming to the wall. Who's going to hit it on the stroke? Is it going to be Hill or Solberg? It's Hill just ahead of Solberg, and Ciulli touches third quickest in this heat. Now bear in mind, this is about posting times. A 25.56 for Jamal Hill. He'll get a look in at qualifying for the final. Second is the Norwegian Frederick Solberg, and Ciulli just outside his best, 26.39. Hill did not get off to the best start.
No, he didn't, but his arm span is unbelievable. And when he popped up, we'll probably see it in the slow-mo right now. Here he goes. He comes off the blocks. He's actually behind when he pops up. But look at this stroke. I mean, it's so dominant, and he really powers and turns it on really the last 10 to 15 meters. And 25.56, which is the time he posted, that's a very decent time for him for a preliminary swim in the 50-meter freestyle. I do think he's going to be a threat to the podium tonight. He looked great.
He does. A man who's also very interested in the coaching roles and an avid surfer. Jamal Hill 25.56 and 25.67 for Solberg. They'll be looking to secure places in the final with times like that, going sub 26. Julie might have a nervous wait. A couple of Brazilians and 3 swimmers from RPC go in the third heat. Watch out for Denis Tarasov, though, going in lane 4. Somebody who's a 25 low swimmer over this distance. Decent start, good underwater to come. All break water relatively early in this as they get into their strokes. Gonzalo Silva of Brazil going in lane 3. Look quick, but it's a really good swim from the Montenegrin going in lane 1 as well. He's pushing up a little bit of pace, but maybe losing some now. Tadic as he tightens slightly, extending his advantage is Denis Tarasov. It looks like Moscovoy is alongside him, but Tarasov is going to win ahead of Moscovoy with Skalyuk in third overall. So RPC 1, 2, 3 in this race. But just touching outside Latinmaki of Finland. The Brazilians just never really getting into this race.
Here's Tarasov. He is fast off the blocks, and then he makes the most using that dolphin underwater kick in the freestyle, which has become so important even in these sprint events. You just have one length, so that start is critical. And then he comes in for the finish, and he went 25.37, fastest time that we've seen so far during the preliminary session. He's going to be very, very quick tonight.
He should be. A man who was the Paralympic Games champion in 2012. Tarasov goes into the it's 25.37. He'll be into the final with that sort of time. Maybe Skalyuk a little bit of a wait to see. To heat 4, the fourth and final heat of this men's 50-meter freestyle S9. Simone Barlam goes in lane 4. And while 2 of the 3 medalists from Rio are in this race, they are not the swimmers we'll be watching most intently, I suspect. Simone Barlam, the Italian, is the world record holder, 24 flat. He'll be looking to go sub 24 and become the first to do so. Matt Cowdery's Paralympic record still stands at 25.13, but for how long? Timothy Diskin was a silver medalist for Australia. He goes in lane 3, and Yamada Takuro was a bronze medalist in Rio 5 years ago. He goes in lane 2. Will Martin should be one to watch as well. He's having a fine games already, is Will Martin, as the 20-year-old from Australia who picked up victory in the men's 400 free. Looks to go in the shortest event now, but it is at the moment Barlam who is just ahead of the 2 Australians. Martin onto his right and Diskin on his left. And Yamada is looking to close a little faster as well, get himself a decent late draw for the final. Is the Paralympic record going to go? It is equaled by Simone Barlam, a 25.13 level with the Paralympic record. Will Martin and Timothy Diskin touching second and third. The 2 of the Australians, of the 3 inside the top 2, Andrew Tuckfield, who had a bronze medal in the men's 400 free, went for a charging run out wide. He finished 7th overall. So Barlam, world record holder and our joint Paralympic record holder with a 25.13 level with Matt Cowdery's record.
Here's Simone Barlam off the block. He's got that right lower limb impairment. He has a shorter right leg than the left, and that certainly affects his start. But as soon as he pops up to the water, what he has to do is he's got to chase down Will Martin, who's going very quick to his side. But then Simone Barlam, with those long arms, is able to out-touch everyone. And he went, 25.13. It's a decent time for him. Not great. He's over a second off of his sea time and his world record. So I do think he's going to expect to go a lot faster tonight at final, certainly under 25.
Barlam ahead of Martin and Diskin. Shalhano might sneak into the final. I'm not sure Yamada's made it, actually, with a 24.6. So Barlam qualifies quickest with a Paralympic record. Tarasov A former champion in the 50 free at the Paralympic Games in London, is second fastest. Shalchano is the last to squeeze in. Diskin and Martin will swim, and Jamal Hill will challenge for a gold medal here. He looked very solid with Solberg of Norway in his heat. Now on to the preliminaries. 2 heats for the men's 50-meter backstroke S3. A couple of swimmers to look out for, including Mexico's first gold medalist at Tokyo 2020. There is Jesus Hernandez, who left himself looking absolutely shattered. He left every little bit of energy that his body could expend in the pool. He could barely get out of the pool after winning gold for Mexico so brilliantly in the 150 IM. And straight sprint for the swimmers. Serhii Parlamchuk goes in 3. Denis Ostapenko, his compatriot, goes in 5. Belyaev, Parlamchuk, Hernandez, Ostapchenko, Martinez, and Marigliano. So Hernandez doesn't get much off the wall, but he's quick in his stroke, and the way he impressed in winning the 150 individual medley, you might fancy him for a good swim here. Ostapchenko of Ukraine is looking really good at the moment, leading out. And while Parlamchuk got off to a good start, a man who's a multiple medalist in backstroke events at the Paralympic Games. He was 3rd in Rio in both the 50 and the 100. And he finds himself just a little way down, going with the 2-arm windmill technique. It's looking good for Denis Ostapchenko of Ukraine, who's going to romp to the win here ahead of Hernandez. And Parlamchuk, 3rd quickest overall in this first heat of 2 in the men's 50 backstroke. Denis Ostapchenko, he'll take that win. The sea time of about a second outside of Hernandez's best, but in the pool, in the preliminaries, Hernandez with a 49 and Ostapchenko with a 46.
And Ostapchenko, he got off the start nicely. You see in this classification, they pretty much all require assistance coming off of the block, and what really makes the difference is your stroke rate right here, because these swimmers, they don't have, you know, much control in their upper body, but what they can do is turn over their arms very quickly, and that's exactly what Ostapchenko did. 46.18, about 4/100ths of a second faster than his sea time, so he should be quite pleased with that.
Hernandez maybe still recovering after that fantastic win in the 150 IM, that gold, but he finishes 2nd quickest in the first heat.
Yeah, but I wouldn't count him out for tonight. You never know what he has in store.
No. He's very sneaky in that respect. Just qualify for the final and then go all out. Doesn't matter which lane you've got, just make sure you have a lane. Now the second heat of 2 in the men's 50 backstroke S3. There is Charkorn Kosri from Thailand, the foot and mouth artist who represented Thailand for the first time 22 years ago. Kosri turns 48 next week. He'd love to make a final. He goes in lane 2. Vincenzo Boni of Italy goes in 3. He was a bronze medalist 5 years ago, and that is Diego Lopez. Oh, that's not Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez just a moment ago. This is Zhou Lianggang. Going in 6 is Germany's Josiah Topf. And then the effervescent Grant Patterson, already a medalist at these games after his bronze in the 150 IM. He goes in lane 7. Topf back to the wall. So looking to use the underwater well here is going to be Topf of Germany. Just how much of an advantage will it give him in the pool into their strokes? Quickly, watch out for Boni, Lopez and Zhou. And this is where Lopez can put a great amount of effort in one stroke. Lopez is looking really good for Mexico, going in lane 4. Zhou Lianggang alongside him is also swimming fairly comfortably here, while using the double arm technique. Vincenzo Boni going in lane 3, looks to be 3rd at the moment. Straight down the center. This is going to be fairly comfortable for the Mexican come the wall. Almost a full body length ahead as he comes to the wall now. And a glide for Lopez. Diego Lopez happy to take the victory in the heat with a 45. That's nowhere near his best, but a 45.67. He will have lane 4 for the final. Will the Mexican Zhou Lianggang, 47.82, touches 3rd quickest, and Vincenzo Boni 3rd with a 48.04. There's Zhou Lianggang.
And coming off the start, right now, Germany gets off to the greatest start because he has the use of his legs and he can maximize his kick underwater. But then once they pop up, the swimmers who are able to use their arms really take control of this race. And you see Diego Lopez, what makes the difference for him, even though he can't use his legs, and he doesn't have a ton of control over his upper body, is that he's able to really thrash and move his arms at a very fast rate. And that's what makes the difference for him.
Well, for him, there would have been some disappointment about the result in the 150 IM. But this is one of his strongest events. So the man in front is the man who has already claimed the World Championship title in this event at the last 2 World Championships. Diego Lopez qualifies quickest overall. Diego Lopez on top. Ostapchenko's time, the 46.18, gets him a lane 5 draw for the final. Vincenzo Boni, we've got Jesus Hernandez in the final as well. Top comfortably in, and Miguel Martinez of Spain sneaks in with a 54.88.
And really for these 3 swimmers in that top seed going into tonight's finals, I do think the difference is going to be who can get their arms around the fastest. That's going to be the key here.
On to the women's 50-meter backstroke S3. 2 heats to come. The first sees Ariola Trimi of Italy go as the favorite. Silver medalist in the relay already, Ariola Trimi. The mixed 4x50 freestyle relay, but now she goes in the backstroke. That is Shurova of RPC. There's Trimi. Mexico's Aceves goes alongside her compatriot Patricia Mae. So the swimmers will start in the pool. Ariella Trimmy is a multiple world champion in the S4 classification. She's been reclassified as an S3. She finished outside the medals in Rio in the S4 classification. And she did win the world championships in both backstroke and 50 and 100 free previously in S4 classifications. This is her swimming as an S3 now. Kirenko, Shurova, Trimmy, Noguera, Aceves, and Valle. So Ariella Trimmy should be comfortably in front. Doesn't have a good angle on the arm rotation, but manages to power through the water very comfortably. Does Trimmy for Italy, going in lane 4. Going alongside her in lane 3 for RPC is Shurova. She's looking good for second at the moment, while hoping for a third place finish without the use of her arms is Aceves of Mexico, going in lane 6.
Yeah, but right now, Ariella Trimmy, she's out there by herself, and she's got clean water, which is super helpful. It's helpful for anyone, but particularly in this class, because it would be hard for her to fight against those waves that people to the left and right generate.
Coming to the wall comfortably ahead of anybody else in the pool, it is Ariella Trimmy of Italy. It is going to be Shurova of RPC, who comes home second, while third quickest. It's very tight between Noguera and Aceves. In the end, it's Noguera who's just out-touched Aceves by 0.04 of a second. Another one of the great characters of parasport and Paralympic swimming is Trimmy.
And here they are coming off the block, and you can see the range of techniques that are employed by the swimmers in this class just to get themselves off the block, because the key is to once they get off the block, to immediately get into that stroke. And here at Trimmy, her stroke, it's very clean. You can see she doesn't have a ton of control of her trunk, but what she does do is she uses her upper body where she can to just thrust each arm and get it over as fast as possible.
So Ariella Trimmy, sub 55 seconds. She goes 54.79, and already all but Leanne Smith, who go in this classification, can't swim that sort of time. So Shurova touches second, and Noguera Garcia ahead of Aceves of Mexico by 0.04 of a second. Second heat featuring Leanne Smith of USA going in 4. Ellie Chalice of Great Britain goes in 5. They are the two quickest by some margin, although Ilya Shishova is a sub 60 second swimmer. The other two are 54 and 55 second swimmers, so there should be a significant gap between those two and the rest of the field. There's Canada's Ali van Wyk Smart going in lane 2. Compatriot goes in lane 7, Nikita Entz.
And Leanne Smith, she's probably hoping to have a strong finish in this event. We saw her swim the 150-meter individual medley, where she actually swam up a classification, and she ended up being out of the medals there due to that powerful swim by the two Chinese swimmers. But here, Leanne Smith, she's swimming in her actual classification, so I do think she'd like to have a stronger finish.
Yeah, challenging when you're going up a class or two. There's Chalice of Great Britain. Chalice is 17 years old. She was 15 when she finished third and inside the medals at the World Championships in London. That's swimming in front of her home crowd.
There's the wave.
So swimmers will start in the pool, but owing to a range of impairments, will start in a multitude of ways as long as they are touching the wall at the start. Some using the ropes, sometimes they'll use a towel in the mouth. But Leanne Smith and Ellie Chalice going in the center lanes. So Smith, how quickly does she get into a stroke? A little bit off the wall from Shishova, and certainly from Pereira Barreto of Brazil, going in lane 6. But into a stroke, and Chalice is looking really good.
Yes, she is. I mean, her turnover is much faster than Leanne Smith and really anyone else going out right now. She had all 4 limbs amputated, so she can take advantage of this high stroke rate and try and beat over the other swimmers. Where she's going to have trouble, though, is where other swimmers, they have the full use of their arms, that full range of motion, and they can really catch more water than Ellie Chalice can. So Ellie, she has to keep up that high stroke rate coming into the wall, and you see right now that she's starting to get caught a little bit, but she still looks great.
Well, she's putting in the effort, incredibly high turnover rate, but it is Shishova going for RPC in lane 3 who is closing. It is going to be a touch first, though, for the Great Britain swimmer, and indeed, despite that incredibly fast turnover, not quite fading. But outside the top 3, this is uncharacteristic for Leanne Smith. And Ariola Trimi, the victor in Heat 1, might be looking at this and thinking, I've got a real chance here. My competition is going to come from Chalice, and I know I'm quicker.
Ellie Chalice looks very happy with that time, especially with a first place finish right now. It's a real confidence booster. If you swim well in prelims, even if your time isn't what you wanted it to be, when you go into the prelims with a great seed position, you feel confident going into finals. You know, you're right in that middle lane. You feel like you've got a shot at the medals. And here's Ellie Chalice. The way she uses the start is super helpful. She gets a little bit underwater and then she pops up early. And what she does is she keeps moving. She's able to rotate her shoulders slightly and keep up that high stroke rate, which allows her to just take this away from the rest of the swimmers in the field.
So, Chalice victorious. She'll qualify second quickest for the final and have a good lane, but victorious in this heat over Yulia Shishova. Pereira Barreto of Brazil is into the final as well. Leanne Smith will qualify for the final. Taking a look, it's Ariola Trimi, though, a 54.79, and Ellie Chalice, who are the 2 quickest. They'll have lanes 4 and 5. Yulia Shishova and Zoya Shurova are comfortable into the final. 2 Brazilians as well. And Aceves does make the final. But Leanne Smith, a 54-second swimmer, goes 101.
Yeah, she did not have a great preliminary swim. She's probably pretty disappointed with that swim, actually.
This is the heats for the men's 50-meter freestyle S13. 2 heats to come.
This is an exciting race because we could see the great and almighty Ihar Boki challenged.
Could see.
He will be.
He will be challenged.
He may even be beat.
This is the one event where Ihar Boki does not completely and utterly dominate. Now, Raman Salah is already a gold medalist at these games. He'll be one to watch. At 2 heats to come. Islam Aslanov is also going to be the swimmer who should challenge for a medal. Raman Salai Go in lane 6, the swimmer from Azerbaijan, whose brother is at these games representing Belarus. Both brothers hold dual citizenship, but they swim for different countries. Raman Salai, the 100-meter backstroke champion, goes now in the 50 free. And this is where Islanov might very well come into his own. Islam Aslanov, the Uzbek swimmer, going in lane 4, getting off to a really good start here as well. Oleksiy Verchenko for Ukraine going nicely in 3 and going in 5. Maxim Veraska. At the moment, Raman Salai is looking to try to push. He's got a very fast close. Is he going to be able to close out a touch of the wall here? He comes home in 3rd behind Aslanov and Veraska. As Verchenko failed to touch in the top 4, but Aslanov, the man who is quickest to the wall. He was a bronze medalist in the 100 fly. But no doubt about who got there first.
Now in this 50, getting off the blocks is key because you only have one length of the pool. And Aslanov, his start was okay. He didn't really establish himself early on in the race, but what he did do is he turned it on that last 10 meters. You see, they're actually very tightly packed together, but he had that strong finish, that last 5 meters. He surged into the wall, 23.9, so he's about 0.6 of a second off of his seed time. But in order to take down someone like Ihar Boki, he's gonna have to be a lot faster tonight.
Yeah, indeed. He swam at 23.3 odd earlier this season, just off Boki's times. So, second heat of 2 in the men's 50 freestyle S13 classification. A couple of medalists from Rio returning. Ihar Boki, this is his 4th event of Tokyo 2020. He's looking for his 4th gold medal. That's the German Taliso Engel. There is Ihar Boki. You've got to argue he is favourite. Aslanov could challenge him though come the final if he gets a good draw and indeed a good start. Sankajayev was the bronze medalist in Rio. He goes in lane 3. Dmitry Salai, representing Belarus, is the older brother of Raman Salai, who's just swum for Azerbaijan but into the water. And Tursankajayev and Boki trying to go head-to-head. Yaramenko of Ukraine is closest to Boki at the moment, but this is going to be Boki all the way. Once he got into a lead, he was not going to be denied, and he's going to come comfortably home. He'll just glide into the wall ahead of Yaramenko. And Salai touches 3rd quickest. So, a 23.44. Ihar Boki. Touches in exactly the same time he won in Rio, equaling the Paralympic record. What are the chances?
You have to wonder how he does that.
It's it's impressive.
It is. And look at Ihar Boki's start. Immediately when he pops up, well, first he uses the underwater dolphin kick, which is very helpful in this 50. And when he goes out, he's already ahead of the rest of the field. And, I mean, you can see just the dominance of the type of swimmer that he is. And he went 23.44. He's almost half a second ahead of Aslanov going into tonight's final, which, I mean, in order to challenge someone like Boki, you've got to get off the blocks quickly. You've got to already be in front because Boki, it's like, even though this isn't his best event, he still knows how to swim it really well.
Yeah, once he's in his stroke, he's difficult to catch. Yaramenko 2nd and Salai of Belarus 3rd. Advancing to the final, though, this is interesting. As Ihar Boki is ahead of Aslanov, who's the one swimmer who really can push him for time. But look at the surnames of number 5 and number 7. Azerbaijan swimmer Salai and Dmitry Salai of Belarus. They are brothers and they go against one another for different nations. Now for the women's 50-meter freestyle S13, the heats. Plenty of sprint action. While Krivshina is the quickest in this heat, Gia Pergolini alongside her, already a gold medalist in the 100 backstroke, breaking a world record and possibly gaining an enormous amount of both experience and confidence.
Yes.
Carlotta Gili with a world record and Anna Stutsenko with a Paralympic record. It'll likely be Stutsenko to catch come the end of it, but
Gia Pergolina, though, she's swimming great.
Rebecca Redfern of Great Britain going in one, Mizhudova of Uzbekistan in two. Going in three for the United States. Pergolini has got off to a decent start and is right up there with Anna Krivshina. Hannah Russell of Great Britain in the red swim cap is just trailing a little behind, not quite on world record pace here. Latriskaya and Colleen Young of the United States just fading a little. So too Pergolini now. Extending her advantage is Krivshina, and Russell is holding on, and she should touch for second, just ahead of Pergolini, but a Paralympic record for Krivshina. So a very good start for the RPC swimmer at 27.25. That's quick. Anna Stutsenko of Ukraine, gold medalist in world record time 5 years ago. That world record has since fallen by some way, but it was a Paralympic record that stood. And that time has been beaten by Krivshina in this first heat.
You know, coming off the block, Pergolini, she had a really fast reaction time, and then she made the most of her underwater. But then once they got into the stroke, it was Krivshina all the way. She went out, and then she just appeared to establish herself. I mean, look how far she is ahead of the rest of the field in just a 50. She was about half a body length ahead of everyone else. That is remarkable for a 50.
Confirming the victory for Krivshina ahead of Hannah Russell and Gia Pergolini swimming 28.18. But Hannah Russell in the S12 classification, 27.96 for Russell of Great Britain. On to the second heat of three in the women's 50-meter freestyle S13, and this is where Katja Dedekind of Australia might come into her own. 3 bronze medals in 3 finals that she has swum in the Paralympic Games, but 2 from 2 at Tokyo 2020. She'll be wanting to challenge Daria Pikolova, already a 2-time medalist at these games as well, with a silver in the 100 backstroke and fly bronze. Dedekind goes in 4. Good start from Dedekind. Pulatova is the bronze medalist of 2016. She goes in lane 6 for Uzbekistan, but had a terrible start. At the moment, it is Pikolova ahead of Dedekind. Going nicely in 2 is Kiralee Hayes as well of Australia. A real push through the center here from Katja Dedekind, who's looking to take the lead now. Just goes past Pikolova and should hold it to the wall, and does so. She comes in to touch just ahead of Pikolova, with De Silva Souza of Brazil finishing really fast, pipping Hayes to the wall for 3rd. Not a bad time at all for Katja Dedekind, 27.44, just outside the previous Paralympic record.
Off the blocks, Dedekind, she gets off the blocks very nicely right here, and she pops up quickly to the surface. Now, this is the S13 classification, but what's going on here is that you have both S12s and S13, so a variety of visual impairments. But right now, Dedekind so strong coming into the wall. She's only just a hair length ahead of the other swimmers, but it was a very quick time, 27.44. She should be a medal threat tonight for finals.
Katja Dedekind ahead of Daria Pikolova, twice a medalist at these games. Luciline Da Silva Souza, she'll be looking at making the final, but at the bottom, near the bottom, Tosh Pulatova, the bronze medalist from Rio, is not going to qualify for the final.
No, she did not have a good swim at all.
into the third and final heat of the women's 50-meter freestyle. And Brazil's Maria Gomes, the world record holder in the S12 classification, goes up against Carlota Gili, the world record in the S13 classification, and Anna Statsenko, the defending champion. So the world records of the respective classes, S12 and S13, and that is the reigning champion. So lanes 3, 4 and 5 should be the ones to watch. It wasn't the best reaction time from the defending champion. Really good reaction time from Carlota Gili going in 5. But the swim now in the stroke is right on the world record mark from the Brazilian Gomes Santiago. She is pushing through this. Is the 36-year-old bronze medalist in the 100 back. She's coming to the wall now and will touch first in Paralympic record time. So 2 Paralympic Games records falling in the preliminaries. And after Krivchina bettered it in the first heat, 26.87 for Gomes Santiago. That not quite as fast as her seed time, nor indeed her world record, but she's not far off in the S12 classification, bear in mind. So wins the S13 heat. That's the world record holder in the S12 classification. Carlota Gili second, but half a second back.
Yeah, I mean, you could see from Carlota Gili's reaction that she wasn't that happy with that swim. This swim was about Gomes Santiago, and I mean, we were saying that she's an S12. That means she has more vision impairment than the S13s. So it's always something to marvel at when someone in the lower class beats the swimmers in the higher classifications, and she went 26.8. I mean, that's a very fast swim, not as fast as Carlota Gili's world record, but she is going into tonight's final with the first place seed.
And going sub 28 seconds, Chijuchi of Japan, that'll sneak her into the final. Statsenko is right on the bubble, but Gomes comfortable. Very comfortable. In fact, Paralympic record for Krivchina and Paralympic record for Gomes Santiago. Bear in mind they swim in different classes. Krivchina S13, Gomes Santiago an S12 classification. Gili has got herself into medal contention. So too Dedekant. Watch out for Pikalova. She's very good. And Sujuchi, Russell, and the defending champion Statsenko sneaks in, and we'll have lane 8.
Yeah, but Carlota Gili, in order for her to win, she may have to go her world record tonight.
On to the heats of the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB4. So, Botjardi, Chernyov, and Molkov. Watch out for those swimmers. Certainly, Chernyov, this is his best event. Daniel Diaz remains the world record holder, but he won't swim in this classification. He's been reclassified from an SB4 to an SB5. Now, Botjardo. Big swim for Botjardo to come. There's Chernyov with the lion tattoo on the arm. Alexander Molkov of RPC goes on his outside. That's the young Luis Huerta of Spain. So the start list for the men's 100 breaststroke. Khalil, Zulkafli, Botjardo, Chernyov, Molkov, Huerta, and Kaukwam of Thailand. Botjardo and Chernyov, like Kahil of Egypt, go into the water for their start. Plenty of unique styles and different strokes for the individuals in the respective lanes. Going into the pool now, Kaukwam, who gets to his lane 7, a Thai swimmer. Just holding on to the backstroke ledge. Swimmers going off. It was a very good start for Huerta of Spain. He does get something off the blocks, but it's Cherniev who is so quick to get into his stroke, and in his favorite event, this is where he wants to dominate.
Yeah, I mean, Cherniev, though, he does have a tendency to go out fast, and so for him, it's not a surprise to see him taking the lead against the rest of the field. Look at this turnover, though, from him. I mean, he is moving down the rest of the field. I wouldn't count out Bocciardo, though. He's been swimming well, and he's got a good breaststroke right now, which he's showing. He needs to, you know, go a little bit faster, though. He's starting to actually fall behind the rest of the field. So for Bocciardo, the question is, can he move up at all?
So for Bocciardo, it is going to be a bit of a stretch to try to catch the man who is the European champion, indeed the reigning world champ as well, in Dmitry Cherniev, who is just superbly swimming his way to victory here. Bocciardo is already a silver medalist from the mixed 4x50 relay, but he's also a double gold medalist in the men's 100 free and 200 free. Not his strongest event, but he is falling further and further behind here, the man from Genoa. It'll be Cherniev ahead of his compatriot Alexander Molkov, who goes in 5, and Huertas slid down. Bocciardo of Italy is at the moment looking to come up on Zulkifli, the Malaysian, who's hoping for a swim to put himself into the final. Swimmer for the Malaysia Tigers. Just love the outfits of the Malaysia Tigers. The battle for third is developing. Cherniev touched ahead of Molkov, but is it going to be Zulkifli or Bocciardo? Right at the wall, it's Zulkifli who touches just ahead of Bocciardo. Dmitry Cherniev, European champion and world champion by the age of 19. You should be pretty confident of doing the business. Zulkifli, good swim from the Malaysian. He could be into his first final of Tokyo 2020.
And Cherniev coming right into that stroke right off the bat. It's important for these swimmers that they don't spend a lot of time underwater because they don't gain anything from there. And here he is coming into that stroke. You know, it's hard to put into words how difficult it is to swim breaststroke entirely on your arms when this is a stroke that really is primarily one that's driven by the legs. But Cherniev, I mean, he makes it look easy with this stroke. He doesn't get really tight too much at all as he heads into that final 50. And with a 1:33.42, that's a fast time for him.
That's a very fast time. European champ, world champ, fast time. Well, the official time list signals it's a disqualification for the Malaysian, so he will not advance to the final despite touching third at the wall. Bocciardo then third overall, Huerta fourth, but Cherniev with a 1:33.42. That is a serious marker laid down by the RPC swimmer. Going to heat 2. 46-year-old Colombian in his only event here. Man who's medaled at the last 2 Paralympic Games from Bucaramanga. In fact, if you go back to Beijing, he was bronze medalist in Beijing as well. Was Moises Fuentes. In this men's 100-meter breaststroke, SB4. Beijing. Bronze in London, silver in London, I beg your pardon, and bronze in Rio. The last time he was world champ, however, was in 2013 in Montreal, some 8 years ago now. But he'll surely be favourite for this heat. Fuentes just drives his body off the starting block, give himself a little momentum. Going in lane 1, Ruan Jing-song is off to a really good start as well, but in the stroke, Tsapatakis of Greece is looking to put a little pressure on as well. So to Rincon of Colombia. Bit of a battle between the two Colombians, but Fuentes has generally come out on top.
Yeah, but right now the swimmers, Fuentes Garcia has a very slight lead right now, but they're very closely bunched together, which is not typical of some of these lower classes. Often you see one or two swimmers way out in front, as we saw in the last heat with Chernyov. But right now, Fuentes Garcia, slight advantage, but it's anyone's race at this point.
For Antonios Tsapatakis, he's unfortunately missed out on medals at both the last two games. In London, he touched 4th, and in Rio, he touched 4th. But he has claimed a host of World Championship medals in this event, but did miss out on the podium again in London at the last World Championships. So Tsapatakis is looking to find himself into the top 2, and at the moment is managing to hold firm against Fuentes Garcia, who is showing his back-end strength. Rincon just fading off, going out a little bit harder, maybe looking to apply a little pressure.
He did, and Fuentes Garcia, he's much closer to the top of the water, and that's allowing him to take this race now at the end.
Great arm strength, great power, and into the wall he goes in front of Tsapatakis. 3rd for Rivero of Argentina, who touches just ahead of Rincon. So a 1:39.65. Well, that's already taking plenty of the swimmers out of contention. Some jokes in the pool from Tsapatakis to Fuentes. Moises, you are the best. And for the longest time, he has been there and thereabouts at every event, on every competition. Halabi coming home. Bashar Halabi of Israel touches in 2:37.37. But Fuentes, victory in the second heat and a 1:39.65.
And you can see the different techniques that the swimmers employ in order to get off the blocks. Many of them, again, they start on the block, but they drive forward with their arms and they place that towel down to prevent the starting block, which has that very rough surface, from rubbing them too hard. And then here you have Fuentes Garcia coming into the wall. He's got that slower stroke in comparison to the others, but it's a stronger and more deliberate stroke, and it's very efficient. I will say, though, 1:39.65, he's going to have to be a lot faster if he wants to touch Chernyov, who went 1:33.4 and actually is approaching that world record set by Daniel Diaz. So that could very well fall tonight.
Yeah, and look, he's certainly got a little something extra. Called El Patron by Tsapatakis, who finished 2nd. El Patron, the boss, when you translate it to English. How much is he going to boss this race?
The boss.
Yeah. For a long time, he's been right at the very top of his game in the 100-meter breaststroke SB4. It's Fuentes ahead of Tsapatakis. Rivero swimming a very strong second 50. Rivero comfortably into the final. Soto Rincon is one of 2 Colombians, then 2 swimmers from RPC. Ran Jingsong of China, and Francesco Bocciardo is into a 3rd individual final at Tokyo 2020. Now to the heats for the women's 100-meter breaststroke SB4. This is where Italian success is expected. It's going to be, it should be a battle between Italy and Hungary for the medals, but never discount China. Malak Abdel Shafi goes for Egypt in 2. Chong Li goes for China in lane 3. Giulia Ciretti and Monica Boccione find themselves as compatriots going in 4 and 5. And then Narita Mayumi goes for Japan in lane 6.
You know, typically in this race, the Italians have the stronger starts and they're getting out front. But right now, Zhang Li looking very strong. The Chinese swimmers have I mean, they have swam so fast this meet so far. Every time, I mean, I'm always shocked. I probably shouldn't be at this point, but they're swimming so well.
Narita Mayumi of Japan turned 51 on the third day of competition. 20-time Paralympic Games medalist, a 15 gold medal haul over her incredible career, Japanese icon. That's swimming at the age of 51, a little out of it here. Zhang touches ahead of the two Italians. And Zhang Li, as you say, she's having just a phenomenal games, though.
Yeah, she really is. She appeared to be fading a little bit heading into that turn. It almost looked like Giretti was going to catch her, but now Zhang Li is back and she's actually extending her lead. You could see her arms. The stroke rate is starting to tire a little bit. Her stroke is starting to shorten. It really looks a lot more like a scull than a full breaststroke pull. So here come the Italians, just making a very heavy move into the finish.
So it is Giulia Giretti who's finishing strongest. And Giretti looking to go past Zhang Li, who's picked up a silver in the 100 free, 1 gold in the 200 free, and the 4x50 mixed relay. So Zhang Li not holding on here. But it is going to be Giretti who's coming home first. And splitting the Italians is Zhang Li. Monica Boccione. Zhang Li turns around a 1:53.28. She'll take that. That's a new PB for her. While for Boccione, it's well outside her best. So too for Giretti, who's significantly faster, but a confidence-boosting swim for Zhang Li, who might just feel she could make it happen in a final, get herself into medal contention. Giretti's going to be difficult to beat. And there's no doubt that there is a Hungarian danger who goes in Heat 2 and might very well present a danger to any prospective medalists.
And here they are. Zhang Li, she was very quick off that start, and she has to get into that stroke quickly because she doesn't have the use of her legs. And then you saw Giretti. Every time really Giretti approached a wall, she started to close in a little bit more on Zhang. And right there, you see Zhang's stroke, it really started to shorten and tighten up, and that's where Giretti just blew right past her. Although Zhang, she had the fast first 50, so if she can hold that pace a little bit more heading into tonight's final, she could definitely be a medal threat.
Confirming the results, Giretti ahead of Boccione, with Zhang Li separating the Italians. Malak Abdel Shafi, a 1:02.27, will hope for a place in the final. The start list for the second heat of the women's 100 breaststroke, SB4. Yao Zuan and Cheng Jiao go for China. On either side of Fanny Illich of Hungary. Fanny Illich is quick. Not quite world record pace quick. Sarah Louise Rung has been reclassified and swims now as a 5. But her world record in the SB4 still stands. Natalia Ziani. So going in lane 3, Cheng Jiao of China, Fanny Illich, the last 2 European Championships. She has been victorious, and indeed is the reigning world champion. Yao Zuan going in lane 5, and Natalia Shavel of Belarus goes in 6. Susanna Hext of Great Britain is scratched from the race. So ultimately, if you finish inside the top 3 here, you're guaranteed of a place in the final. But at the moment, it is the Hungarian rather, Fanny Illich, who is in front, flanked by the Chinese swimmers.
Yeah, and Fanny Illich, she's not known for going out particularly strong. What she does have, though, is she has a great second half. And she has limb deficiency in her legs, as you can see. And that means that she doesn't suffer from what the swimmers who don't have use of their legs do. She doesn't get so tight on the second half because, and right now, you can just see, like, look how fast her stroke is in comparison to the other swimmers in the field.
Cheng Jiao is holding on here. She won the 50-meter breaststroke SB3 at the last Paralympic Games in Rio. And in the World Championships, she was world champion in Mexico in the SB3 classification, but now swimming with Fanny Illich and swimmers like Giretti. But a chance for Fanny Illich to, in her strongest events, claim a Hungarian gold medal, and she looks to be just taking a little further, putting a little further distance between herself and Cheng Jiao. Yao Chuan going to touch third, but Illich ahead of Cheng Jiao. Yao comes home third quickest in this heat. And Natalia Chavel home for Belarus.
And here the swimmers are coming off of the block. Fanny Illich, she's a little bit behind off the start. It was really Cheng Jiao who had the better one. But then Fanny Illich, when she goes into her stroke, she doesn't breathe every stroke, which helps to increase her stroke rate. But she doesn't have to drag behind her. And so when she pushes off and she gets right into the stroke, she doesn't suffer from that tightness in the arms that so many of the other swimmers do. And she went 1:44.68. You know, she could very well challenge the world record set by Sarah Louise Wrong tonight.
Well, that is something that's certainly going to be on the cards, because this is the faster heat of the two by some margin. Fanny Illich, Cheng Jiao and Yao Chuan, they will qualify as the three quickest. Third, and 150 for third place in this. Chavel 2:04.62, she'll advance. Progressing to the final, Fanny Illich of Hungary ahead of Cheng Jiao and Yao Chuan. Zhang Li qualifies from the first heat. Two Italians in Giretti and Boggioni, while Chavel and Abdel Shafi of Egypt has qualified for a first final at Tokyo 2020. To the final event of the preliminary session on day 5 of the swimming competition at Tokyo 2020. This is the men's 200-meter freestyle S2. And this is going to be a thoroughly entertaining battle between two names, Abarca and Arrojo. Liu Binying is among the swimmers who has been reclassified, so it no longer swims in the S2 classification. But Abarca, the first ever Paralympic gold in the pool for Chile. And he won the men's 100 backstroke. There we go. The tattoo of the Agitos over his right chest. The swimmers have been also given temporary tattoos of the logo for We the 15, referring to the around 15% of people internationally who have some form of impairment or disability. But a history maker, the 36-year-old Chilean, with that 100 backstroke gold. What can he do in the 200 freestyle? He finished second at the World Championships. He's the reigning European champion. Having swum at the Open event at the last European Championships, as it was an international Open, so not every swimmer who won at the European Championships or finished in medal positions was from Europe, it must be clarified. But Abarca is looking good going in lane 4. Christopher Trongo goes out hard for Mexico in lane 2, and Roman Bondarenko of Ukraine going in 6.
So this is the S2 classification. That means these swimmers all have limited function of their hands, their trunks, and their legs, really. And Alberto Abarca, his power is basically generated from the twist of his shoulders right now. And you see him using this single arm backstroke. Even though it's freestyle, this is the fastest way for him to get across all 4 lengths of the pool. For the S2 classification, the 200-meter freestyle, it's basically a distance event for them. It's the longest event that they have available to them. And so they need to be careful not to overswim the first 50 or even the second 50, because coming home from them, as fatigue starts to set in, it becomes very difficult to overcome that. And now we see Abarca, he's starting, to move into first place. Abarca, his arm speed, it's quick, and he has to be able to keep that pace over the 4 lengths of the pool.
So Abarca going along nicely. Most simply referred to him as Carlito, rather than by his first name, Alberto Abarca. We'll keep it formal, shall we?
And one thing you see in the S2 classification is you see such a wide range of techniques used on the start, used in their stroke. Right now, Alberto Abarca, he's using that single arm backstroke, and then in lane 6, you see the double arm backstroke used. And what this really shows you is, the classification system, it groups swimmers together based on their level of function rather than disability. Every single swimmer, they undergo a water test and a bench test, and then they're allocated a certain number of points. So each classification, it encompasses a wide range of points and a wide range of disabilities. And then once they get into the pool, they have, similar levels of function, but what they're able to do is to use their abilities in such a variety of different ways.
Indeed, in a variety of different ways. Abarca here, one of the many Paralympians who has a day job and needs to return to his job, works in a bank in Chile, in Santiago, the capital city. But he is going to return with some heavy metal, it seems.
He does, and he's swimming this race like a very experienced swimmer. For the S2 classification, it can be difficult to swim this event twice, because like we were saying, it is a distance race for them. So in the morning swim, it's important that they keep it controlled and they don't expend too much energy heading into the final this evening.
So Abarca is going to touch first at the 150 mark, a man who struggles with a condition that affects his nervous system and has caused degenerative muscle weakness, but that strength of character is also largely what helps propel him through the water here.
Yes, for sure. We were talking about he has CMT, and that is, it affects his sensory and motor nerves, and it means that the signal from his brain doesn't always get, or it's the signal is damaged coming from the brain to the limbs. But what he does do is, with this twist of his shoulders, he generates power, and that power propels every single arm movement.
A man who, at 36, knows he is likely in his final Paralympic Games, and also owing to the degenerative nature of his condition. But he has gone very hard, and he's continued to extend his advantage here, as he will come to the wall in a time outside the 4-minute mark, but a man capable of going in 4:10 is happy to settle for a 4:18.25 to claim the opening heat. So that'll be a very comfortable lane draw for him come final time. Abarca, but he touches ahead of Becker da Silva, Bruno Becker da Silva of Brazil. 4:30.84. Otowski touches third quickest for Poland. And Bondarenko will come to the wall fourth overall using that double arm technique, the backstroke. Bear in mind, this is a freestyle event, which means you can use any stroke you wish. And while many do swim the front crawl, particularly in the higher classifications, they do not all have the same technique. And Tronco comes to the wall now. The 35-year-old, the former world champion in the individual medley, but that was 19 years ago in Mar del Plata. Colombian Richard Vega now will be finishing in 7. 5:21.29. It's a long way outside his best for the Colombian. But Barça, 4:18.25, that's a good time, good seat time for the final. That'll get him a center lane. It all depends on where Araujo finishes in his heat.
And here you see coming off the wall just the variety of the different techniques. Christopher Tronco using that leg to do an underwater start. Right here, he takes on the early lead, but he's just not able to sustain it, because for a swimmer that only has the use of their leg, that leg, the power dies over the course of the 450s. And that's where Barça is so strong, because he has, you know, the use of some of his upper body, he's able to take it. And that's in a distance swim like this, for a swimmer that has use of their arms, they're going to have the advantage. And Barça, what he did was he kept the speed up with his arms throughout the entire race. And 4:18.25, it's certainly not his best time, but it's a very decent time for finals, and he needs to not overdo it in preliminaries, and that's exactly what he did. He swam it smart.
Very smart swim, 4:18.25. That'll be a comfortable lane draw for Alberto Barça, ahead of Bruno Becker de Silva and Kamil Lotowski. Roman Bondarenko, 4:45.36. He'll look for a place in the final with that time. To heat 2 of the men's 200-meter freestyle S2, and in lane 4 you have Gabriel dos Santos Araujo. Now, this is a young character who is just shot to prominence and came within a stroke or two of winning gold in the men's 100 back. He came to Tokyo 2020 as a teenager thinking, all I want to do is win a medal. He's already got that medal, and I think his legendary performance, dancing, singing, breakdancing, moonwalking, he was doing everything he possibly could on the podium. He was absolutely delighted, the man from Santa Lucia in Brazil. And right on the outside, Alexei Talay goes in 1 for Belarus. Aristidis Makrodemetris as well of Greece going in 2. The 30-year-old is already made a final here, and he's a multiple Paralympic Games medalist over the years in various events, but never in the 200 freestyle. And the man to watch, 19-year-old Gabriel dos Santos Araujo. Just readying himself. There is the Greek swimmer Aristidis Makrodemetris with his trademark moustache. Man who lives and trains in Athens. And while he's made the finals of this event previously, he's never finished higher than 6th at the Paralympic Games, although has got a 4th place finish from the World Championships in Glasgow. More competent over the shorter distances. For Araujo, it might be interesting to see how he handles this, because he does like to go out hard. And that saps him of energy coming home. And this has created a large enough lead. So just getting all the swimmers ready in this S2 classification. Talay Makrodemetris, Araujo in 4, Danilenko in 5, and Pani Bratets in 7 for Ukraine. Scratches in lanes 3 and 6. So Araujo is the only swimmer who uses the starters blocks, and for him, needing to use the underwaters is somewhat of an advantage. But how quickly does he go overall? Danilenko might fancy a good time here.
Yep, and Araujo, he has the advantage off the blocks, and he goes right into that fly kick. The problem with Araujo, and we saw it previously in his other event, is that his legs, they start to fade a little bit. It's hard for him to maintain that speed over the course of this distance event for the S2 classification. And now Danilenko, we're going to see him maybe not in this first 50, but certainly going into the next 50, his arm power is going to kick in as Araujo's legs start to fade.
So third at the World, second at the European Championships for Danilenko. He'll come in with a fair amount of confidence about potentially taking a lead here. He's not going to have much off the wall, is Danilenko. Meanwhile, going in lane one is the Belarusian Alexei Talai. That's the Greek swimmer Makari Dimitris we were looking at a moment ago. Bear in mind, this is an S2 classification. Alexei Talai, who's going in lane one for Belarus, is an S1 swimmer. So he will have a different set of records to be attempting to chase down. Araujo is looking really good here. Well, he lost a little power in the backstroke and was edged for the gold medal. At the 100-meter mark here, he is in front. Maybe not exactly extending his advantage, but Danilenko is still there and looking to use his arms to generate enough power to pass Araujo.
Yeah, and Araujo, he does appear to be fading a little bit, which is expected, given that he doesn't have any use of his legs. And here comes Danilenko with that quick stroke rate. He's starting to take over from Araujo, especially in this third 50, where Araujo's legs, I mean, they're definitely starting to fade here. He's getting tired, right? Danilenko going right past him.
And this is where Danilenko will come into his own.
And, you know, absent from this race is Liu Banying. Without him in this race, it really opens it up between Danilenko, Araujo, and also Alberto Barça from that first heat. Those three swimmers, they should be clustered together fairly close heading into tonight's final.
I think Barça might be fancying his chances, the Chilean.
Yeah, definitely. And him against Danilenko, especially the second 100, where they're both generating power from their upper body, they should be fairly evenly matched and very close together and bunched.
For Araujo, though, it's a fade for him. This is the swimmer going in lane 7, Ukraine's Yevgen Panibratets. And this two swimmer, but using the backstroke double arm technique. A reminder that this is a freestyle event, which means you can use any stroke.
And it's fairly common for the swimmers in this classification to use backstroke. That is the one that, you know, they tend to be the quickest at because their stroke rate is the fastest in this one.
And this is where he's gained the advantage, Danilenko. And while he claimed bronze in the 100 back, he's showing that he has a lot more power because he has the arm strength to get himself to the wall. The head of Araujo is using effectively only leg power here. He's tiring and fading. He was leading at the 100, but he's finishing second now behind this man who touches in 4:14.09, Vladimir Danilenko. And Araujo comes home second, 4:24.32. So that is a long way out of his best.
It is, and the way he faded in that second 100, you have to wonder, did he just shut it down to save it for finals, or was he tiring out? You know, he doesn't have his arms to kick into that second gear when he turns into the second 100, and so he does have to conserve his energy and his legs for tonight's final. Danilenko, he had a good swim.
Had a very good swim. Confident. Two swimmers that are still coming home. One is, that's Alexei Talai on the far side of the pool for Belarus. Yevgen Panibratets as well, who is looking to come home. And Alexei Talai has been around for quite some time now, the 38-year-old Belarusian, who has been a multiple finalist at the Paralympic Games and at the World Championships and the European Championships. But Yevgen Panibratets will use that double arm stroke to get himself back to the wall. He's qualified for the final on numerous occasions at the Paralympic Games, but he is yet to medal, either at the World Championships or at the Paralympic Games. He is the penultimate swimmer to the wall, but going in lane 1 is the only S1 swimmer in this classification, the Belarusian Alexei Talai, who's qualified for his first Olympic Games, much to the delight of his family, his wife Anastasia and his sons Mark and Vladislav and Yaroslav and his daughter Daria. Also incredibly proud of the man who's a historian. He has a degree from the Belarusian State University in Minsk in history. Danilenko, though, is the swimmer who claimed a comfortable victory in a very quick time, a 4:14, making the second heat the faster of the two in this men's 200-meter freestyle S2. Araujo, second fastest overall, but a very weak back end.
Yeah, but look at the start from Araujo. Look at his kick. He's very powerful going out in the beginning, which of course is expected for someone who has, you know, some use of their legs here, but he's not able to maintain it. And you see just the variety of disabilities and their various levels of function and how they employ that functions throughout the 450s of this 200-meter freestyle. Here's Araujo. This is exactly where he started to fade. It was the third 50 where Danilenko, who had the use of his arms, just soared past him right now, where Araujo, he's tiring. His kick is really fading. He's not really generating any power. And Danilenko, he's able to maintain that arm speed as he heads into the final 50 and into the touchpad.
To the wall he goes, and some congratulations from two. Araujo beat Danilenko in the 100 back, and in the 200 free, it's reversed. Although they were both undone by Abarza. Maybe that's a storyline to follow. You would definitely want to be watching the final of the men's 200 freestyle S2. So, in this heat, two non-starters. The S1 swimmer, Alexei Talay, 6:06.97 for him. But it's up front where Danilenko is touched in a quick 4:14.09 ahead of Araujo, with Makro Dimitris comfortably into the final with his 4:47.22. But I think, and indeed my very quick calculations are correct, Christopher Tronco, the Mexican legend, has never made the final of the 200 freestyle at the Paralympic Games. At the age of 35, he has just snuck into his first final. So too Makro Dimitris into the final, but Danilenko, Abarza and Araujo, that is going to be a battle you do not want to miss.
It is. We already saw them do battle in the 100, and now they have another 100 to go. Araujo, he's going to go out fast, but then Alberto Abarza and Danilenko, their arms are going to kick in that second 100.
So it could be a really great battle between Abarza and Danilenko. Gathering of all the buckets that are used to hold the personal items of the swimmers in the pool, because it is the end of the session. With the day 5 of competition well and truly underway, the preliminaries have been swum. And we know who's into the final. Another entertaining session, not as many world and Paralympic records as we're used to, but we have been spoiled.
It's okay, we have the finals.
The swimmers from the 2019 World Championships, successful swimmers. The last World Championships have really come to the fore, many at the European Championships as well, showing what they are capable of doing. But we're going to see some tremendous swims, I suspect, in the final as we end this session. But the battle between Mark Avers and Gabriel Bandera, Scott Quinn, Yamaguchi as well in the men's 100 breaststroke. I think in the women's 100 breaststroke as well, we might see the defending champion and world record holder challenged in Alonso. But so many events that you could point to. The men's 50 freestyle, Simone Barlam among those to look out for the final. It's been another entertaining affair. As day 5 of the swimming competition begins with a prelim session that has seen Paralympic records fall and some surprise finalists emerge. Who will win gold, silver and bronze? That awaits to be seen. Session 5 to come.